Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Harbor Community Meeting for the US time zones. I am Michael, and I'll introduce myself in a second. But essentially, we started a cadence of having a Harbor Community Call every 2 weeks, and we're going to have two of them, one in Beijing time, which is UTC +8, I believe. And the second call would be or based on the US-based time zone, at 8 a.m. Pacific. Hopefully this time is convenient for everybody, and we'll start seeing a lot more participation from European as well as US-based members of the Harbor community. So I'm fairly new to the project, so if you guys don't mind, I'll introduce myself and we'll do a quick round and get everybody else to introduce themselves as well. And that will help us start creating a more vibrant and engaging community. So like I mentioned earlier, I am Michael. I'm a director of product management at VMware, and I just started working on Harbor for the last month or so, and I'm the program manager lead for Harbor. So I'll work very closely with Steven, the other Steven, as well as Daniel and Daojun, and others from the VMware team, helping define features and functionality of Harbor, help us with the future direction, as well as run a lot of the community calls and meetings and help us create the roadmap for Harbor. So if you guys don't mind, I'd love for everybody to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about how they're using Harbor or what their affiliation in the community is. And I'll start in alphabetical order if you guys don't mind. So Al, you're first. Seems Al may be muted. So Brad, why don't you go first then?
Hey, Michael, thanks. My name is Brad Meiselas. I work for VMware, and I am a engineering manager. The Harbor engineers the engineers at VMware who work on Harbor are on my team, and I'm also responsible for our Kubernetes product. And one of the things that we're really excited about is making Harbor great for Kubernetes.
Excellent, thank you, Brad. The next, Al, I don't know if you can hear us now. Would you be able to get unmuted? Nope. Okay, Daniel, you want to go next? Daniel Zhang.
Hi, this is Daniel. I'm developer from Harbor. I'm part of the very early developer of Harbor, so work along since it's a very mature project too. It's part of CNCF, and yeah, I'll continue working on that to improve this project. And thanks for joining.
Thank you, Daniel. Keith, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. I'm Keith. I'm a software developer for Rackspace. I'm not a contributor yet, but I'm interested in working on some of the auth-related stuff for Harbor. I've been working with Daniel on his OIDC proposal, so I'm mostly here to listen.
Very cool, Keith. Welcome to the community. That's excellent. The OIDC proposal is something that's definitely front and center for some of the next features of Harbor. It will open up the integration of Harbor into other tools and products. So I look forward to seeing that come along. The person, Neil, you want to go next?
Would that be me, Timon?
No, there's a person called Neil. I guess they cannot be unmuted. Okay, yeah, Timon, go ahead. You go next then.
Sure. I'm actually Thomas Munn, and I'm a security practitioner, and I'm using Harbor as a secure development delivery private registry. I'm working on an open work project called GoCloud, and I think I'm not a programmer, but I'm like a really good security architecture person, and I can also do documentation. So I think I could help with some of the documentation and maybe video guides on how to set up Harbor if people were willing to teach me, and I don't mind learning. So anyways, Great.
Excellent. Welcome, Thomas. Thank you. Jan at VMware, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Yan. I'm from the same team with Daniel. So I'm on one of the Harbor team. So currently I'm one of the core maintainer of Harbor. So for me, I have worked for Harbor maybe for more than 2 years from init team, maybe 0.3 version. So I'm still working on Harbor right now. And okay, that's all for me.
Excellent, thank you, Jan, and both you and Daniel. Thank you for joining us this late in your time zone. We really appreciate it. Is there anybody else that would like to introduce themselves? All right, let's kick it off. Like I mentioned, we'll start a regular cadence for the Harbor meetings from now on. You'll be able to predictably know when we're going to have a meeting. And for today's agenda, we'll talk a little bit about the 1.8 development updates and talk a little bit about some next steps in open source events. We do have an agenda on the community repo. So if there is a topic that you want to introduce to a future agenda, something that you want to talk about, something that's near and dear to your heart, whether that's a new feature or you want to talk about a specific PR, please feel free to add it to the agenda. I will start adding things as I get more comfortable with Harbor. So we'll start having some more engaging conversations. On the 1.8 updates, from a P0 perspective, the Harbor Health Check API is done, the robot account work is done, the developer center, the configuration refactor, and the prepare script refactor are in very good shape for the 1.8 release. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that 1.8 will not ship until mid-May. So the goal here from a development standpoint is that all of the PRs are tested and ready before the end of April. So if we want to have a good chance of releasing in time by mid-May, we want to make sure that we have all our code in so you can start doing the CI testing, making sure that end-to-end testing is complete and all our features are validated and working well in conjunction with everything else that's coming in. So please try to finish your work by end of April. Some of the P1 work that's already underway on the Harbor CLI, the work is complete. And right now, Feisan and others are working on testing, setting up all the pipelines and making sure that they get that work through to the completed stage. The webhook work, essentially what the webhook is going to enable is third parties to be able to integrate better with Harbor. Think of this as you want to get a notification when scanning is complete or anytime a certain action in Harbor happens and you want to get a webhook notification so you can initiate any pipeline or any other action. That work is most of the code is complete, but there are some open issues that need further discussion. The proposal is open. You can go and comment on the proposal, and we can have a discussion on that ticket. But if you're interested, whether you want to try it out or you want to contribute, feel free to contact Mingming, and he can loop you into the discussion. The replication work, there's a virtual team that's working on that. They are meeting independently from the Harbor community meetings. And that's the work that will allow us to replicate Harbor images and hum charts between Harbor and non-Harbor registries. And the way that work is done, it's basically split into two main efforts. The first effort is that there's a base framework around the replication engine. That work is about 70% done from what I'm hearing from the team. So really good progress there. Maybe in a week or so, that work will be complete. The second part of this work is around an adapter framework. Think of this as a plugin framework, where if you want the replication target to be another Harbor instance, then you need a Harbor adapter. If you want the replication target to be Docker, you need a Docker adapter. That work is just getting started, so we still have a lot of work ahead of us in terms of getting all of that completed. So if you're really interested in contributing in that effort, feel free to contact us and start participating in the replication work group as well. These are the high-level updates on version 1.8. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with our work?
Hey, Michael, are there any other features that might make it in that aren't on this list?
I believe there are a few more minor features. We can cover the full list of capabilities for 1.8 next meeting time, if that will be helpful to everybody.
Yeah, well, one thing that I know we'd been talking about was supporting OIDC as an authentication mechanism, and I thought that somebody on the call had mentioned some security expertise, so it might be worth at least mentioning that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I'm drafting the proposal and engaging Keith, who's also in the call for the proposal. And the plan is the draft of proposal will be submitted hopefully this week or early next week, and we will start working for the implementation.
This is Thomas, the security person. I would recommend, if it's just for end users and not applications, to use FIDO2. It's a lot more relevant and a lot simpler to set up. OpenID and OAuth 2 are they're great, but they're very complex. So just a suggestion.
Yeah, Thomas definitely will steal some of your expertise in this area. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think I will. I think I can submit the PR for the OIDC, and you can feel free to add comments. But currently, we are trying to squeeze that into the 1.8 release, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Another feature that's not here is the Windows support that Brad, you and a few others we have talked about, and we have a PR open. We will support Windows images in 1.7.5. So that means you'll be able to push and pull Windows images. Scanning for vulnerabilities will not work on Windows images. That's just because Claire doesn't support it and may never support it. And we're looking into what it would take for us to enable the replication capabilities for Windows images as well. So hopeful that it'll make it for 1.8 as well. All right, next on our agenda is there is an event mainly for folks that are in Asia and China specifically. Harbor will participate in the open source hackathon on April 18th through 20 of 2019. We already discussed it on the earlier Harbor meeting that was catering more to the folks in Asia. So I won't talk more than that in this call. The next open source event that we will participate is KubeCon in Barcelona in late May. There's going to be a few of us from the Harbor community that will be present. We will have both an introductory section on Harbor to educate the conference attendees of Harbor, but we will also have a deep dive. And I will encourage everybody from the community to attend the deep dive. We can have a discussion on the future roadmap of Harbor. We can deep dive into specific features. And after that session, we can also sit down and talk more as a community. If there is an interest for an ad hoc session, I think of this as a community meeting of Harbor. We can certainly arrange and schedule something like that as well for KubeCon in Barcelona. All right, and I only have one more topic that I want to cover, and then we'll open it up for folks to bring anything that's of interest to them. If you guys remember, there was a PR that was submitted to update the governance model for Harbor. I wanted to make sure that everybody's aware that the PR has been retracted. We will continue maintaining the current governance model for Harbor, but if anyone from the community has any suggestions on how we can better improve our governance model, whether that's around voting, membership, maintainers, or anything that you feel can make our community run smoother and as a well-oiled machine, feel free to make the suggestions, open PRs, talk to maintainers, talk to me, and we can certainly collaborate on any proposals and suggestions to find a better way for our community to run. But for the current moment, there is no proposal on the table for updating the governance model. That's all the topics that I had on my end. Are there any questions, concerns, or anything that anybody else wants to bring up to the community meeting?
My name is Thomas, and one of the things that I really liked about it, the Claire scanning is great, but I can't really use it in my pipeline because if there is a high with no solution, the gate still gets stopped. So the question would be, is there a way that we could add, that you could do things that are high only with a vendor provided fix, and then use that as a gate instead of just high, medium, or low, and there's no solution for it?
Thomas, we had internal discussion about this problem, but we currently, our thinking is that it's not the right way to solve the problem, because a vulnerability without a solution is not less vulnerable. So if you enable the policy, want to prevent running vulnerable image, you should not ignore any certain level of vulnerabilities.
I think it's sort of a security versus functionality question.
Yep.
Could I do it with an API where I could, is there an API way that I could sort of, instead of using the group, I could say if it's vulnerable and has a solution where I could programmatically do it myself?
Hi, this is Brad. Let me just make a suggestion and see how this sounds to you. Sure. What if there were a way to whitelist specific vulnerabilities where, yeah, because, if you think about Daniel's comment, I think he's right. But if you review a particular vulnerability and make an assessment that you're willing to tolerate that risk, then any future occurrence of that one, you can let slide.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'd probably get most of the ones that would, yeah.
Yeah, that would be perfect. I mean, just something to allow me to have a gate where I could, see them in advance and then approve the ones and that sort of thing. That would actually, like a workflow for approval, would be a great one. Yeah.
So Thomas, first of all, great suggestion, Brad. Thomas, would you like to open up an issue in our repo with the recommendation and put both the business case, the why behind it, like you explained, as well as this proposal?
No, I hate to ask the question. I'm relatively new to Git. Do I just go in and open an issue or a PR? Because all those words are...
Thomas, actually there is a issue opened by other users asking for a very similar a change. So I will send you the link to the link to the issue, and you can add your comment and we can continue the discussion.
Okay.
And see, maybe put that in the roadmap.
Yeah, whatever. Great product, by the way.
Thank you.
I believe Thomas is that issue 6999, Daniel? I'm putting it in chat right now to see if that's the one that we're talking about. Go ahead, Brad, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just, was going to answer Thomas's general question, which is that, yeah, we use issues in GitHub for a whole range of things that we need to track. It could be bugs and feature requests. Okay. So yeah, if you just create new issue and as Michael was saying, type in whatever description you have about an enhancement, then we go ahead and tag them so that we can differentiate bugs from feature requests, but either way, that's the way to do it.
So the issue that I posted is the right one. So you can go ahead and add your comments into the ticket, including updating the justification, the why behind it. Let's talk a little bit around.
That was actually me who did the request in the first place. So.
Oh, is that your
I'm
name? Okay.
Okay,
So
I see. Oh, okay.
Cool. So we'll talk about it and see if there's anything we can do. All right. Anybody else? Any other requests, concerns, or comments?
Hey, Michael, I had a question about whether, I don't know if today's the right day, but should we be thinking about coming up with a mechanism for adding sub-projects?
Yes, so that's definitely something that we need to evaluate and meet and agree as a community, as well as have, if there's any proposed sub-projects that are in the pipeline. I know of one. We can definitely do our due diligence around that and see how we can do that. I'll add that in the agenda for a future meeting, Brad. Thank you. All right, we'll talk about that maybe next meeting. As always, all our meetings are recorded. They'll be uploaded to the meeting schedule on GitHub, as well as the slides. And always go back and obviously, we don't want these meetings to be the only forum for everybody to ask questions and collaborate with the team. Feel free to find us on Slack. You can message me for any features and functionality. You can message Daniel or Steven, and we'll be more than welcome to engage with you and talk about anything related to Harbor. All right, we might be getting 5 minutes back on your time if there's nothing else by anybody.
Question: Do you have any questions about my user experience? I'm asking.
Sure. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, sure. So one of the reasons why I came is because I think that a lot of the projects, I have the advantage of being a complete newcomer to it. So I'm a great person to write documentation. And one of the things, like I was trying to do, I do a lot of IPv6, and it worked great in some areas and didn't work in others. And I know IPv6 and Docker are not always friendly, and it's probably not #1 on anyone's list. But I just found it difficult. I found the documentation difficult to navigate as a new person. I mean, I've studied Docker Content Trust, and I've studied a lot of the other stuff, but there's just not a, from soup to nuts, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And that was something that I'm definitely willing to write in Markdown and have it be part of the documentation. So I think that, like the Harbor, the Docker installation goes very well, but there's like all these things that you have to kind of know. Like I was thinking of maybe having like, I could write an Ansible script that would automatically make HTTPS work, have another script that would sort of be on the client side to set up the Docker Content Trust in a registry, just those kinds of little things that I can do. But I don't know how to do them because I don't know how to do them. I've never done them before. So if someone is willing, I would be very happy to work with them to document these non-developer-y things and put them as my contribution is to the community would be to help sort of develop some of these.
It will be extremely appreciated, Tom. I agree. Our documentation on the GitHub repo needs heavy refinement. I think we can continue the discussion maybe on the CNCF Slack.
Yeah.
And we'll see how we can do that in the 1.8 timeframe.
Great.
I think documentation might benefit from a working group because that's not a one-time fix. You know,
No.
that's going to be ongoing as releases change and update.
And I think using more than just writing, you know, everything from videos to screencasts and ASCII cinemas, that you could just go through a complete setup of it, and that way they can just watch that. I find those almost better than documentation, and they're very easy to update. You just go through a new install.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for offering to help in this area. It will be much appreciated. With one today, we're definitely going to need a lot of help both documenting the new features, some how-to guides, videos. Definitely, that's something that's going to be in our mind, and we're very likely going to have a CNCF webinar as well on Harbor. So I'll write a note here. We'll see how we can leverage your expertise and help in that area.
And thank you everyone for listening to me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Well, everybody have a good rest of your day. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Michael. Bye.
Bye.